name of your piece and what led you to write it for this
My
event?
piece was titled Guns v. Dicks. It's like the Supreme Court thing, you know. And Holly invited me to be part of this piece and told me that it was about gun violence and it was named Under the Gun, etc., etc. So I'm a monologist and I think about that, folks. And so I thought about it and I heard this sentence that said, people are confusing their dicks with their guns. Or it might have been, people are confusing their guns with their dicks. You see how that goes. So I started there and then I went down the little path.
Sure. So my name's Tara Godomsky. I'm an actor and a writer, and really happy to be part of the guilds that form the Women's Coalition here. I wrote a piece called Treadmill, which is a screenplay for a short film, which I hopefully will make. And it's about people who disagree on gun control finding some common ground in their humanity.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Smith and I wrote a piece called Men Who Love Women.
And what led you to write this piece?
Well, tragically, my cousin had a child that found a gun without the safety on in his wife's purse. And he shot himself in the head. He was 3. And in that same week, about 7 other toddlers in Houston had done the same thing or shot their neighbor or something. And I was going to write about that, but then I was like, no, I want to write about who these people, some of these people, not everybody in Houston, you know, that I was talking to at the time. They were saying these crazy things, and we know these people. It's about a woman who, it's pretty provocative. It's about a woman who is in love with a man who's unavailable, who penetrates her with his gun because he can't get an erection because he's on medication for being bipolar, but they've let him have a gun, you know. Not saying that people bipolar can't have a gun, but you know, it's just something that came out of my imagination. And she also thinks Donald Trump is really, really sexy, and she thinks that men that are like, you know, violent and aggressive and masculine are sexy. And I think we all have that in us somewhere, like this kind of like, you know, thing, and not to that extent. But anyway, that's what I wanted to write a piece on ISIS. She thinks that ISIS is going to come to Houston, and it's this whole like, we know these people, you know. That's I work.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You know, I've just been really frustrated by the growing problem of gun violence in our country. All the mass shootings, the shootings in schools, the fact that no place is safe, the fact that children today grow up doing active shooter drills, things I never did in elementary school. And I think art is the best way when you are frustrated to express that frustration and get it out. So I started writing.
Every time there's a mass shooting, I think that everybody is sort of conditioned to think about the body count and to think about the sort of number of lives lost. But and I think it was sometime in 2015 that there was a particularly bad sort of rash of shootings, and I was thinking and grieving about the people who died, but I kept having all these thoughts about the people who survive, and particularly the children and young people who survive, and what it's like to live through something like that. And so I started doing research about survivors, and I read this really terrifying article about a woman whose life was sort of ruined because she was living with PTSD, and she was like 16 years old, and that made me want to tell the story of young people living through this, because for every person who dies, there's dozens and dozens more who are left with injuries or loss of loved ones, or just like the memories of having seen these things. So I felt that there was a story there.
Thank you. It was a good story.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I had a very similar conversation in a small town in Pennsylvania where I was staying, and it was really bothering me because I wanted to find, I was sort of so angry with this conversation I had with this other woman, and I kept thinking, she's not a bad person. I want to find out why she thinks the way she does. So I started to write a piece about it and sort of found that she was also coming from a place of love, even though we disagreed on some of the basics of gun control. I could understand more of where she was coming from, and I think that that's kind of what we need to do in this country to be able to start to change things, is to understand that everybody's coming from a place of common humanity instead of just shouting.